Hello and welcome to Venture Portland's Lunch and Learn series. We are doing a special Lunch and Learn Tuesday. You can usually find us on Wednesdays, but today we've got a really special guest from Spitzer Technology Consulting. Olivia and David Spitzer are going to be talking about some ways that your business can use some different types of technology to run more efficiently and more securely. So I'm going to introduce our speaker, David Spitzer. Welcome, David. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. We're pretty excited, and it's a nice big group, so I'm hoping we can get a good conversation going here.
Absolutely, yeah. I'd love to learn what other people's interests and questions are as we go along. So certainly feel free to go ahead and get started.
All right, let's get rolling. So one thing just ahead of time before any of this, I still find what I do to be incredibly fun, and I get very passionate about it. Side problem with that is I can tend to talk fast on occasion, if I especially on a topic that it's like extra important to me. I'm well aware of that, but I'm not always aware that when I'm doing it. So if I cover something very quickly or I gloss over something and you're like, oh my God, what? Please hammer that into the chat. Olivia will hit me via the chat on here. She'll come off mic, or she'll hit me on my phone or any other messaging services that I have, and she'll tell me to bring it down. Just because I do get particularly excited about a lot of these topics. With that, we're gonna jump into this. What is this all about? Small businesses are a lot of the times, and I see D. Westerholm in here, so I'll bring it up. Nonprofits often get stuck in the middle of things, right? You're not a home user where you just have one computer, and I want to say minimal needs. I don't want to minimize anyone's specific needs, but they're usually simplified and streamlined on a small scale. Or conversely, when you're on the ultra large scale, you usually have an entire internal facility that's running your computers, and it's their own separate deal, right? Right in the middle for your small, medium-sized businesses are the people that end up getting stuck making weird decisions without not necessarily having all the information about how to make those decisions. You're kind of, if technology is not your primary line of business, then you don't necessarily know what you don't know. And so you're stuck making decisions on things that you don't have all the information for. So that's what I am here to try to do, is to bring to light some of those things. Obviously, there's too many to ever throw out into one specific conversation. So I try to hit on some things that I know are significantly important, that I hear about more often than not when I speak to other business owners. And then I have one that I've been reminded not to get on too big of a soapbox. I talk about AI a little bit later in this. As you'll find out, I have a very strong opinion about it. Um, TLDR on that, it's a very cool technology, but nobody's reading enough about it to actually know what it's doing and what it's taking from you. So we'll get into what that means a little bit later. And I am always happy to stay for hours after a meeting ends and discuss AI because of how prevalent it is and because of how much the Wild West AI is currently. It's a scary thing. Anyway, so let's get to running. Things that we're going to talk about today. Websites, number one, is usually one of the things that I hear about the most from business owners. We're going to talk about it on kind of the breakdown of how websites go down, because there are different types, what you can use it for, and most importantly, what a website is not for. That's a thing that I hear about a lot, where I want a website to do this or this or this. That's not what websites are for. And if you're looking for a website to do some of those things, it's not going to do it. And we're talking about people. One of the biggest things, getting people into your company, keeping people in your company, and then when you inevitably have to offboard someone. So we want to make sure that we talk about all those things, how to protect yourself and how to do that efficiently. Network, I get into a whole big thing. Everything is a network. And I try to help people understand that networking is such an ethereal concept. It's really weird because everything in it, there's no physical touch to a network. It's all packets turned into electricity, converted to light, put it on a line, and then it's supposed to do something for you, right? Because of the nature of how networks work, there's usually common misconceptions about that. I try to bring to light what those are and how you can work around those things. Files is everything about your business, right? I'm assuming, and you can feel free to put it into the chat here. All of you are already utilizing either one of the big two, Google or Microsoft, uh, as your backplane for all your files. Maybe you have a file server at your location, or you're saving it on your computer using Google Drive to upload it, or OneDrive, or SharePoint, or any of those other things. Um, Situations like that, are not always streamlined the best way or not shared the proper way. I can't tell you how many times we get into a place where people are sharing things out from personal OneDrive when they should be in business, or they're sharing things out with ultra permissions when they should be locking it down. People that are in accounting can see files that are in HR. Like it's not understanding the platform that you're on is not in and of itself a bad thing. But those companies don't do a good job of teaching you how to make that stuff work. Hardware and software, they both kind of fall into the same category. What I try to get people to look at is you can save yourself a lot of heartache by doing a few steps for planning and knowing how to get, acquire, set up, and then sunset, most importantly, for hardware and software. So a little bit about us. This is our team out here in Park Rose. We are a little managed services firm that I started back when I was but a wee lad. I came out of corporate IT and wanted to bring a bunch of that to the nonprofit and small business and medium business sectors. So our office is here. You can look us up. I can always post the address. Feel free to stop by whenever. We've got cold drinks and hot snacks for anybody that wants to come by. Um, So anything deeper about me? So my name is David. I've been doing technology. I think they tell you to say you've been doing something professionally. It was from the first time you got paid to do it. So technically speaking, I've been professionally doing technology since I was 13. I am passionate about it. I continue to be passionate about it. I think that it comes out in the way I speak about these things, and I always want other people to be passionate about it because it's so cool and there's so many ways that it can work for you. Um, and I like to try to get everyone else excited. I know everybody else is filling out this information. I'm going to try to go through it. I know Olivia's going to give me some pieces of information to help pepper in extra information that is specific to each of you as it comes up. If I don't get one of those, I apologize. I'm going to try to read those as I go. I'm just trying to cover a lot of material, and we do have some time for Q&A at the end if we don't hit something for your specific industry or you have very specific questions about something you have that's kind of burning a hole in the back of your mind. Shout them out in a time that seems proper. I'm happy to take a question whenever. Um, so let's jump right into it. Websites. What is a website? What can it do for you? What can it do for you? Websites are a road sign on the freeway. And I use that specific analogy for two reasons. One, you can't get anything from a road sign except for information on how to get something else. And two, there are road signs everywhere. There are road signs all across the freeway. People that put up a website and expect it to be, I put up a website. Why aren't I rich? Because there's a billion other road signs on the freeway, right? The sign is just there to get people to hopefully see you, but you have to direct people to that too, right? So with all those signs, the more signs you have, the more frequently you'll be noticed. I don't know if any of you, I know they kept going in San Diego, but there used to be outdoor advertising campaigns where people would put 4 or 5 signs in a row that would have like a phrase on it or something. That's kind of what you want to do with a website, right? When you think about your web presence, it's not just yourdomain.com or .org or .edu or whatever. You've got to funnel things. So you've got to have your social media things happening, whether that's you're advertising to a younger crowd, so you're on TikTok or you're on Facebook or you're on Indeed or you're on Nextdoor, what have you. Um, Websites are a tool to help drive eyeballs to you. They are not an end all be all. Um, that aside, websites come in essentially two flavors. Um, and this is where I see people run into trouble is they grab whatever the fastest or easiest thing is. And those are what I usually refer to as a WYSIWYG website. What you see is what you get. That's your Squarespaces, your GoDaddy builders, things like that. Those are great for standing something up that is simple. They're good for not having to have overhead on maintenance. More often than not, it's 1 or 2 pages. Here's who I am. Here's a picture of me. Here's a blog. Anything past that, and you're going to have to go to like a hosted solution, right? So I'm sure many of you are familiar with the term WordPress. It runs, I think at last count, it's like 78% of websites currently available on the internet. It's an open source project that has all kinds of tools in it, and you build on top of it. It's called a framework. Um, when deciding to move to that, it's a really good technology that you can leverage. If you have custom features. If you don't have custom stuff that you want to run, it is not 9 times out of 10 not worth the headache to your business, the overhead of hiring somebody else or making someone else on your team learn that service. They don't already know it. Get a road sign, get it on the freeway, direct people to you, have them call you, have them put in a contact form. Unless you need extra custom functionality. And what I mean by extra custom functionality, Case in point, on our website, we let trouble tickets come in that route directly to our support system. So we have a series of forms that have conditional logic, meaning if you select one answer, it alters all the questions below it so that they are on target with everything above it, right? That's a bunch of custom coding we had to do. Not something I can do on a Squarespace site, but it was something I could do on a WordPress site. The real downside to doing those custom sites are someone's got to know it. The code and backend on those changes daily for updates and security types, like the languages that it runs on, the server platforms, all that kind of stuff. So you are taking on overhead and cost, and the complexity jumps up depending on how complex you want to get it. How many of you are running WordPress sites? You can do hands up. There we go. Yeah, at least one. How many of you are running WYSIWYGs? Okay. Um, uh, if I was hoping to get a response, that was going to drive the next part of this question. That's totally fine. Securing it happens the same way on either side for the most part when that comes to um, websites. That's SSL. It's pretty much bog standard across. If you don't have SSL already, chances are your website won't be working on the internet anyway. If someone Google searches it or something and it doesn't have SSL, it's not going to work. The big thing I will push you towards if you're logging into something on the back end, make sure you have two-factor authentication enabled. Um, Wait, want to ask a question that requires an answer user? Oh, actually, Olivia, you can throw this together for me. If you're not already using two-factor authentication on your website, whether that's a WYSIWYG or a more complex one, please set that up. That is something I will mention no matter where we go. If you're not already leveraging multi-factor authentication in all of your systems, the first thing you should do when you are done with this lunch and learn or you're done with your next set of tasks today, go enable those on everything. Your bank accounts, your Microsoft account, your Google account, all of that. Um, it is that should be your barrier these days is at least three pieces of information to get into anything you have. When to outsource web work and when to handle it yourself. Honestly, anybody can learn anything. Um, if you feel comfortable delving into something, there are tremendous amount of resources out there for WordPress, Joomla, Drupal, .NET Nuke. I think technically that's still around. Um, if you want to build it yourself, you can. Where I say you should look at outsourcing, if your website is going to start containing other people's information, and you're not already confident with that, seek help. Even if it's asking someone for their help. And why I specifically call that demising line, if you are going to bring people's information in, meaning their personal information, even if it's just first name, last name, email address, you're now responsible for that information. So if you can't properly secure it or maintain it in a way that you're taking other people's information into consideration, ask for help. And that's totally okay. Um, Peopling. So again, talking about securing things. Every business should have a way for essentially to see a human being through every facet, the life cycle of working at your business or organization, right? From the time that they are going through a hiring process into that onboarding, whilst they're working for you, through their offboarding and into their next position, whatever that may be. Um, the most important parts of those that I will really hammer on the policies for how those people are handled in there, right? So hiring something like that, that's going to be more HR. But once they get onboarding, they're going to do that. You got to have policies in place for protecting you and the business. Those two very specific policies that I am incredibly insistent that people have is a fair use policy and an internet policy. Now, fair use policy literally stipulates I'm letting you use whatever the hardware and software that we're using is. I'm probably going to be giving you an email address. I'm probably going to be giving you access to my building. I'm going to be giving you access to all this stuff, right? So you're just writing a policy of how those things are expected to be used. You're not going to throw my laptop that is given to you on the ground. You're not going to use the email address that has been given to you through the company for personal means. You're not going to go to the work network and download movies off of a torrent site. There's a pretty wide variety of things people can do that are better done on a personal machine or through personal means. What these policies protect you for are, and there's legal precedent for this now. If I hired Olivia, I'm going to pick on you, Olivia, and Olivia used her work computer to download torrented movies on my network. here at the office, and I get a notice from the DNCA that says you've downloaded illegal movies, right? And I go and I say, Olivia, you've broken our code of conduct. I'm going to fire you. Technically speaking, if I didn't already give Olivia a policy that states that she's not allowed to use those resources for those means, that's wrongful termination. I legally did not let her know that she can't use those things. And there's legal precedent for that now where people have used those cases to sue their previous employers and win. So writing one of those out, putting it on file, and having your employees sign it can protect you from that in the future. The same thing applies to the email one, right? That was the other thing I mentioned, which is an email use policy. I have emails. I never, and not once have I had to go back and look at any of my employees' email, but I like knowing that I have the ability to if I need to. The same thing applies. If I hire Olivia, Olivia uses her email to conduct business in a way that I don't want her to, including using that email address, and I go back and I read those emails, even though they're owned by my company. If I didn't previously lay out the policy that I reserve the right as the owner of this business, or my IT department reserves the right to read your email, technically speaking, we didn't notify Olivia. So therefore, she didn't know. I'm going to use that in air quotes because it's a defense mechanism in court, not real life. She didn't know that she wasn't allowed to use that to buy and sell illegal items on Craigslist. I don't know why you're such a bad employee, Olivia. Um, so having those two policies in place as you bring people in can protect you in a large way. Now, once they're in your company, you want to protect them. They're a part of you. So you want to make sure that all of the technology through secure means, meaning multi-factor authentication, meaning that files are given proper permissions when they're stored on your file systems, that those people are protected when they're inside of your company. And then same thing when you're offboarding someone, a written policy and an expectation set while they're already still an employee for how that exchange of power happens. How does an account get turned off? How does hardware and software get returned back to your organization? And then what is the policy for moving someone out? Do you give them their items so they have an ability to purchase their hardware from you? Do you maintain a certain level of communicate? All of those things should be policy driven, written out, and signed and kept copies of. And that is how you can protect your business from the technology coming back to, for lack of a better term, to bite you in the ass. Um, if you have all those expectations set from the outset, then everybody knows it's not a mystery and it's not just protecting you, you're letting your employee know exactly what's re required and requested of them in using that technology. So now let's get to my everything in a network. So everything is a network. And this is growing more and more and more to be the case for everything. Your, I mean, I've got them all right here. Let's see. Here, I've got a micro desktop computer right here. That's connected to the network. This is my phone. That's currently connected to the network. This is my watch. That's currently connected to a network. I don't know if I have it over here. But my tablet, my backup phone, my desktop that I'm working on right now, the computers that are over on my workbench over there, all connect to the network. Um, why it's important to understand that everything is a network is some people think that if you just flip over your phone from Wi-Fi to 5G, that you're off the network. You're not. You're just on a different network. Um, all basic networking technology for anything you've ever come across, right? From the smallest of the small, you went to Comcast, you have a modem, it's in your house, it gives you Wi-Fi, you watch Netflix on that Wi-Fi. That same technology that runs that is literally the exact same technology that allows you to go on your phone and drive down the freeway at 100 miles an hour, maybe not 100 miles an hour, 65 miles an hour, and have music streaming to you from Spotify whilst driving on the phone. It's literally the exact same technology. Why this is important to understand is that um, it's held together with spit and baling wire. So what does that mean for you, and how do you combat that? One, always have a backup plan. If you have an office space or you have network at home, buy a backup battery so that your network stays online when the power dumps or you get a power sag or something. Have other ways to access your files. If you're an entirely cloud-based company and the network goes down, and by the network I mean Comcast or any of your local fiber providers, if that happens, you no longer can work. So have a local copy of your files. That's how you can circumvent that, right? Have a local network that has your files on it. Um, where you need to protect yourself is because everything is a network. Not all networks are friendly. One of the things I had upon, and I believe I had upon this on a later slide too, but this is a perfect time to talk about it. Um, Public Wi-Fi, things like that. If you're going to use it, never, under any circumstances, ever access corporate resources, banking, anything that really has information about you. And the reason for it is, do I do I want you to go out there afraid that every single coffee shop and every single place, every WeWork space is out to get you? No, they're not. But it's not worth the risk, right? Especially when everybody carries this in your pocket. The this is just a 5G phone. It's not that's a year old, right? Or something like 9 months old. So I can do a hotspot on this. The internet that I can get through that 9 times out of 10 is faster than any coffee shop I can get on. And at least when it comes to this, I know where the network is and I know what it's doing and I know where it's been. Um, the common response I get from that always is, well, I have a VPN. And here's where common misconception about network happens. VPN is a misunderstood technology. VPN literally just means virtual private network. That's it. So all a virtual private network is that if I'm on a network over here and there's a network over there, I can create a tunnel between them and bridge them, making it seem as if I'm currently on that network over there. That's all the technology does. So if you're on something like NordVPN or PIA, Pirate Internet Access, any of those ones, all you're doing is connecting your computer to one of their computers somewhere else that you don't know. It's just anonymizing your traffic. But you have no idea on the tunnel that it's being traversed on or where it's popping out or what computer it's on when it goes over there. Here's where it's cool though. Most of the home-based or business-based medium-sized networking boxes that are out there in the world have VPN technology built in. So you could conceivably go to a coffee shop and turn on a VPN that is free and directly connects back to your home or office. And now you have a protected signal because you know where the traffic is originating and you know where the traffic is terminating, meaning both sides of the tunnel. That's how you can protect yourself. The bare bones to all this, don't use Wi-Fi at the airport, at the coffee shop, at the hotel, any of that stuff. If you're watching Netflix, sure, that's a reasonable risk to take. Worst case scenario, your Netflix account gets hijacked. If it's a place that has a bad actor in it. Do I think every place is a bad actor? No, but that is a worthwhile risk to be able to watch something, right? I know Stranger Things season 5 drops in like 2 months. I will watch that wherever I get under any circumstance with any internet. Um, but if it's anything else outside of that, if it's work related, if it's personal, if you're going to log into something that has credentials or personal information, skip the public Wi-Fi unless you have a known good security technology that can protect you. If you know where both sides of that tunnel are, um, I can talk about VPNs forever. If any of you have home or business networking technology, you can pepper me with emails. I'll tell you whether or not your devices have or have not, or how to add it to it. There's all kinds of stuff like that. But more than anything else, the main thing I try to get out of this particular slide, like there's some information out there, but the big thing is if you're subscribing to a VPN service, it is not protecting you. It is anonymizing you, which is good for tricking services into letting you watch content that's not licensed for you geographically. But as far as protecting the information that you put into it, it does none of that. It's their marketing tells you that it does, but it doesn't. Um, Great. Files. So, big thing about files. Whether we have to worry about it. Where are they? Who can access them? And how many copies of them do you have? Here's what I mean by that. Where are they is if you're a Microsoft or a Google place and you don't have anything local, they're all stored in one of those two cloud providers, right? They're up across a series of servers somewhere out on the internet. Um, who has access to them? That's permission systems. That means if you have more than one user, are those directories and is that area broken out in a way that only people that should have access? Now, in small businesses, I know that this can get difficult because you've got many people wearing many different hats. So I definitely, I've heard that before many times and I totally understand it. We have it here. There's definitely some zones where our team's only 7. That means there's people in a lot of different like file areas. Mostly what this is, especially in small business, not everybody in your organization needs to see like your tax records or the financial statements, things like that. You don't have to put permissions on every folder, but if you build out those permission structures now as your business grows, you won't have to do it again in the future when there's a lifetime of files to unwind and redistribute properly. And then file security. So permissions help take care of who can and can't access it. My suggestion to everyone, if your files do not exist in more than more than one, so meaning 2 or more disparate physical locations, your files are not safe. Um, it's easily handled by either a piece of local storage at your office that connects up to the cloud storage and makes it remote, or conversely, if you are a all local place that you have it connected to a cloud place and those files exist in more than one place. It's to stop that if the, and I hate it, I'm gonna knock on wood, it's the house burns down rule. If something bad really happens, you want to be able to retrieve all that. There's a really, really amazing place called Backblaze. I absolutely adore them. They are a cloud backup provider. They only charge $6 per terabyte per month. If you don't already have a backup, that is my suggestion to you. I use them personally. We actually have that at our mine. The location where Olivia is currently is where our disparate backup exists for our office, and our office is where our disparate backup exists for our home data, and both then back up to the cloud. So that way our data actually exists in three places. So files, figure out where they are, figure out how they're organized, and make sure that you have more than one copy is really what it boils down to. There's more details to that later, but like if you want to get into abstract permissions and things with larger organizations, but really the answer is just who can see them, where are they, and can I recover anything or everything in case of a big outage or something. So hardware and software. So we're going to bounce back and forth these for this first part of the topic, and then I'm going to hit on AI, and that's going to kind of close us out because I'm going to get on my soapbox, and Olivia's going to make sure my soapbox isn't too big. So when acquiring hardware and software, I'm not talking about small stuff. If you need to buy a plugin for your WordPress website and it's a $5 investment and it's going to do a thing, that's fine. That's easy. This is not what I'm talking about here. Uh, Hardware acquisition and software acquisition for line of business application, meaning the computers that your people are going to use, the computer that you're going to use, the software that is going to be relied upon on a daily basis. I'm going to use the example of for a laptop that you need to purchase and the cloud software that you're going to utilize, right? And the reason why is because there's only two options, so it makes it easier to discuss. Laptop versus desktop. Well, I'm a mobile user. I want to be mobile. That immediately already cancels out desktop. I can now begin working down a pathway. So what I'm trying to do is I want to plan for the needs that I actually have versus the needs that the marketing of all these different hardware and software OEMs will tell me. OEM means original equipment manufacturer. Whenever you see that anywhere on something. Um, the marketing of something will always tell me that it has everything that I need. And it's 9 times out of 10 not true. Case in point, I'm a laptop guy. Love laptops, kind of collect them. Um, and if I look at any major site like Razer or Lenovo has their Legion family and that kind of stuff, they'll tell you that, oh, these enthusiast brands are going to give you everything you need. You can do it for gaming or you can do it for productivity. That's a lie. Because those computers are geared in a way to use higher voltages to get more performance out of the chipsets that are on them, meaning you're going to get 20 to 30% less life out of that computer. It may have a similar spec, meaning it can do the things you want it to do, but it's not built in a way that's going to survive 5 years. It's built in a way that's going to survive 3 years, meaning your sunset and replacement costs are going to come faster and cost more. So this is what I'm talking about with when you are looking at the things that you need to do that are important to you, determining actually what you need. So that's why it goes hand in hand with software. If you are a all cloud business, then you honestly don't need to spend that much money on the engine of your computer. You want to spend more money on the shell of your computer. Go with an i5 instead of an i7, which is the model below it, but go with a carbon fiber body to make your money spread a little further because you don't need the horsepower. You need it to, if it falls out of your car, to keep functioning, right? And then for software, looking at what its system requirements are to make sure that you're not over or undershooting what you need in order to function. Small businesses either way undershoot what they need and they get stuck being sad because nothing works the way they want it to, or they get talked into buying something that's way overkill. They're never going to utilize it for what it actually is built for. And then when the time comes to replace it, either you're going to replace it with something else that is way overblown, or it's not going to last nearly as long because it's not built to last that long. So the biggest thing is determining precisely what you need. Plus, by doing an acquisition spreadsheet, like a allele chart would be kind of a way to do it, determining exactly what functions and things you need. You can usually cut down on costs too, because when you look at the software side to it, after you've determined that hardware will work for it, um, going and looking at all the different options and determining which ones have the most crossover so you're not purchasing more. So for the example, Google and Microsoft, right? If you don't care about um, desktop applications, Google might be your best answer. But many businesses that I find out there have Google as their back end but they're also paying Microsoft for their Office licenses. So inevitably you pay 60 or 70% more than somebody else. Whereas if you need a cloud and you need the desktop, why not just use the services that Microsoft has to offer? It's all rolled into one cost, and then your business can save all that extra, right? So determining what the actual feature set is for what your business needs to do before you commit the money to migrating or moving or purchasing, especially because nowadays you are locked in for a year minimum no matter what. I'm also happy to answer anybody's questions on software that you already use, migrating. If you have a list of questions about the services that you are using and a competitor, will it make those, which is the better option for what you do, that kind of stuff. I love those questions. I'm really good at that test. I will happily answer those questions for you, whether in this type of forum or in an email. You can send me that whole list. Um, this is where the AI like question exists. So I try to leave some room for this. And actually, you know what? I'll put this back up again. Okay. I'm gonna go big. This is me. I'm gonna talk me. AI is being jammed down everybody's throat at every turn, no matter what, on everything. It's my watch. I have a Samsung watch. It just updated to their new UI version last night. And it has AI features now that I had to fight to disable. AI in and of itself is interesting technology. It's very cool, right? Also, it's not new. It's been around since the late 80s. It was called machine learning, and then it was called deep learning, and now it's called machine intelligence, and then artificial intelligence, and all that kind of stuff, right? They keep adding different names and things for it. All it really is what the human brain already does. It's called inference learning. You give something a bunch of information of one type of thing, and then you weight those pieces of information so that you can come to a conclusion. That in and of itself is how the technology works, and now it's being ingrained in everything. Here's where the problem exists for you as a business owner. If you have an AI tool that you're not currently paying for already, just one of the first red flags, if you're not paying for the AI tool, you are the product, your information is being captured. What I mean by that is, perfect example, if you're an iPhone user and at any point you have pressed the little button that says make a cartoon out of me, when you did that, you accepted the terms, buried in their terms, you weren't just giving them access to that one picture. You gave them access to your entire photo album on your phone and your iCloud account in perpetuity. So they can now use everything in that to train their model and make it more efficient. Now, training a model and making it more efficient in and of itself, again, not a scary thing. But when you realize that they have now included that information in their model forever, you have no recourse over that. Now, if you extrapolate that to where it's going everywhere else that involves your business, every single tool for every industry out there now is now mentioning, well, QuickBooks now is an AI tool, and this tax software now is an AI tool, and all these things have all these different AI tools. If you are not able to determine where this AI tool is hosted, how it's being used, and you're feeding it information, especially if you work with other people's personal information, in essence, you are feeding a machine that you don't know and don't have control over other people's personal information. So my, if you're going to leverage it at your business, one, try to strip out as much personal information you can. If you're using ChatGPT to help judge up your emails, that's a perfect use of AI tools. You take a sentence here. I want you to take my 5 cent sentence and make it a 50-cent sentence. I want you to add some fun stuff in there. It's a great use for it. The perfect example I will use is I had a financial services company come to us and ask my opinion about using an AI tool. I'm not going to say the name of the company or the name of the AI tool, but they said, look, this AI tool is going to ingest all of our users' data, our clients, and it's going to spit out all the tax forms that they need for tax season. Isn't that cool? And I said, "Do you want my professional answer or my personal answer?" And they said, "Okay, well let's do both." I said, "My professional answer is, do you and can you track and know exactly where all that information is going at all times? If you can't, you're now legally liable to to every single person in your client roster you just fed that to, right? So, and it, it's hard to track all that information. If you go look at an AI tool and you read its terms of service, guaranteed buried down there somewhere else, it includes a terms of service for the company that they're leasing the AI tool from, usually Azure or AWS, which is Amazon's web service company. So then you're, by in essence, by agreeing to those terms of service, you're also agreeing to the terms of service that's hidden there within. So if you can't track all that back down, you don't precisely know where it's going. Um, so I said, look, if you're willing to run that risk, or if you can talk to a company and they can show you where it all is, then maybe it's worth it. I go, from a personal side, if you, as a financial services coordinator for me, go and do that and you didn't tell me, I'm firing you yesterday. And maybe a lawsuit because I don't know where you've now put all of my information. Now, that is, I was using ghoulish overtones to try to illustrate my point, both to her and to everyone here. Do I think everyone's going to sue over stuff like this? No. Some people don't really care what happens to their personal information. Um, but as a business owner, what I try to get people to understand is, especially if you are having people's information, you are now the shepherd of that information. If something bad happens to that information on your watch, you are liable. So not everyone carries a cybersecurity insurance policy, that kind of thing. If you're dealing with people's personal information, carry a cybersecurity insurance policy no matter what. If you're going to bring AI into this, you have to know where the company you're working with is getting their AI from, what their security policy is, and it's not a one-time deal. Their terms of service change all the time. You've got to stay on it. Why it's so scary? The laws around AI and its use are non-existent. Um, the the way that people are utilizing it is unknown. It is the Wild West of this type of tool. Everyone was so excited to get it out there. It's now in everything. Before you let yourself use it, just always ask the question to yourself, is anyone's information in here? Is it really worth the extra I'm going to get out of it? And if I'm not paying for it, then literally the answer to all those is no. For when it comes to personal information. Again, I know that it's super cool. I wanted to learn more about it. I stood up an AI server at my house and trained it on my face, and I used it to make pictures of myself look like other movie characters, right? But it's entirely off of the internet. It exists only in there, and I used it as a way to train myself on that because I didn't want pictures of my face out there in the world. Um, so obviously I'm trying not to create fear here because AI is here and it's here to stay for the time being. Be very cognizant of how you use it. And just take the extra time to read, just to read through the I know everyone says you have to read terms of service. They're not that bad. It's worth the time and the effort to ensure that you're protecting the thing that you've worked so hard to build in your organization. Um, AI is a very uncharted territory, and people need to be very aware of that. Anyway, that's my big soapbox. It sucks to end on it because it's like such a serious topic. Um, we've got 19 minutes to do questions and answers. I'm happy to answer literally any question about anything technology related. Um, I'm sorry that I get so dire when it comes to AI. It's just it is a big scary thing that's happening everywhere, and I would want to bring people to look at it a little bit. Anyway, thank you all for listening.
Thank you, David, for all that info. It's really a lot to think about, but I think really helpful for folks who are just kind of getting started in trying to wrap their brains around all the different components that their business is actually using that they might not even be aware of. So, everyone, yeah, please feel free to just raise your hand, chime in if you have questions, drop those questions into the chat because we do have some time to kind of pick David's brain a little bit about specific things that your business is being affected by or things that you're curious about, maybe perhaps implementing at your business. Um, I know that I had a couple of questions while people are kind of thinking about their own. You mentioned getting a tech policy for your business.
Yes.
Is there a resource where somebody can go to get like a template, or what types of things should people think about putting in their tech policy for their business?
This is perfect. This is a perfect question for this. So this can tie back in. This is a wonderful application for ChatGPT. Um, that is a place that you can start writing your own policy for that. If you go in and you ask a policy not about your company, but just going, I need to write a fair use policy for laptops at my company. That's a great way to do it. If you already retain counsel for your business, I would go to your already retained counsel. No matter what you do, when you're done writing it, make sure you get a lawyer to look at it just to make sure there's no holes in it. There's a few places like LegalZoom, things like that. I can put together a list for people. I also have there's a couple other companies that we work with. Olivia, they're called Workplace Change. Um,
Workplace Change and HR Annies are two organizations that do essentially like HR concierge services. So you can hire them to write a handbook for your company. You can hire them to handle your HR stuff if you don't have the money or the staff to have a dedicated HR person.
That's really
yes,
helpful. I'm sure a lot of
tried
people
and
need
true.
that. If you
Um,
could just drop those links into the chat, I'll make sure they get included in our follow-up email as well.
and specifically, the ones that we're looking about here are a fair use internet policy and a hardware and software use policy. And between both of those, you can fit all the information you need to in there. The hardware and software one's nice because you get most things fit into one of those categories or another. If it lives on something they're going to use, you can usually fit that inside of it. Also, you don't necessarily have to make them two policies. You can join all of that together into an employee handbook policy that includes all of those clauses into one thing. Now we only have one item for people to sign.
Awesome. Thank you. And I also had a question about the, you mentioned the importance of two-factor
Yes,
authentication. Um, for folks that aren't currently using it, is there an easy way for them to start using it? And what particular things should it definitely
there
be
There
used
absolutely
on?
is. Multi-factor authentication or two-factor authentication is essentially available everywhere now. You'll see it written down as either 2FA, MFA, multi-factor, or two-factor. It's called different things, but they all are essentially the same thing. It's more than one factor of personal information or of identifiable information. Now, what that can mean is username, password, and a text message that gives you a key to type in. Some of you might be familiar with this. I'll bring it up here. You can get authentication tools. So like I specifically use Google Authenticator. So I'm going to make this just out of focus because there's no reason for anyone to see those. But these are a series of systems that I have. These 6-digit numbers change every 30 seconds. And that is my additional piece after my username and after my password that I use when I log in. Um, I I love authenticators. I also love text messages because then that way it always comes to my cell phone. Um, if there is a service that you think doesn't have multi-factor, they usually do. Sometimes you have to have it enabled for your account. Honestly, at this point in time, essentially everybody is allowing it or sometimes even mandating it because it's not just a pain in the ass for you if your account gets compromised, it's usually also a pain in the ass for the vendor, whether it's a bank or a credit card or whatever, the place where you pay your mortgage. All those places, there's a problem for both sides of the fence when it comes to those. So usually you can find if it's not already set up, you can usually find it. Sometimes you've set it up and you don't know it. Like you don't actually have to go turn on multi-factor on your Amazon account. You put in your phone number when you make your account, and if they think you're an errant user, they send you one. Now, what you can do is go in and change the enforcement dial up a little bit. That'll say, "Ask me for this every time," or "I want to add other ways or ways to get into it." There's a few different ways that you can massage that in. Another thing that I will mention because this is becoming so prevalent right now: multi-factor authentication does not only exist in the computer realm, and what I mean by that is phishing scams trying to get people to change information to either steal money or whatever, you can break that by people multi-factor authentication. And specifically what that means is if you get an email from someone else in your organization or another organization and you're like, this seems weird, call them. Call them and ask a question. You've just done real life multi-factor authentication. You got a piece of information and you wanted to make sure that it's real. So you got another piece of identifying information and now you know whether it's real or not. I cannot even lie about this. We have one of our customers that does international sales. Their biggest thing they get right now is people intercepting the emails, changing a slight letter in the email so it looks like theirs. Like they replace a W with two V's close together, so it looks like a W. Then they send a, "Hey, we need you to redirect these payments to this bank," which is ACH, right? And it looks like it's coming from the boss. They called the boss. Boss says that's not real. they were able to thwart sending $15,000 to the wrong place. Multi-factor authentication is awesome and can be used always.
That's great. Yeah, I know for some people they feel like, oh, it's such an inconvenience that they have to, get this text message and then put in an extra code, but it's really the only way to ensure that
All day long,
your
it's worth
account.
it.
Yeah.
And
That's
honestly, when you get used to it, it's as fast, especially once you start integrating a mobile device, or if you have a smartwatch, a lot of the authenticators will work here. There's also, if you don't want to have something plugged in, I have one on my desk right now. So there's a similar one, but you can get devices like this. So this is just a USB key that has just a little piece of information on it in the back, right? And as long as this is plugged into a specific computer, my extra authentication lives on a chip in here. If I were to unplug this, the account would log out. Uh, it won't log back in again unless this is plugged in and the password is logged in. They make a few of these ones. The primary brand that makes these is a company called Yubi, Y-U-B-I, the Yubi key. They're great. You can do all kinds of stuff with them. If you want like a hardware-based solution that doesn't require you to type something extra in, you can do that. I don't know if any of you are familiar with like old um, investment accounts. You can even get keychain ones that just have an LCD screen on them that changes all the time. So you don't have to have an extra app. You just look down at it, type in that password, changes every 30 seconds. There's a lot of different ways to kind of meet that need.
great. Yeah, good to know that there's options. I didn't even think about, an actual physical key. But for some people, that might be the easiest way, just to keep
Like
something like
a
that
lot of
on your
a
keys.
lot of government sites use a do I have one here? I usually have one on my desk. So we'll use this business card instead, but we'll have a an RFID based card, and all their laptops have card slots. So you badge it to get into doors, and then you slide it into your laptop, and it lets you log in. Of
Great. That's super helpful. Thank you.
course.
Any other questions for David? Please feel free to chime in, take advantage of his expertise while you can. David, while we were speaking before, we talked a little bit about security, but the physical security of a space. We've got a lot of
Yes,
businesses that we work with who have actual brick and mortars, and now it's becoming more and more important to have some security functions maybe integrated into your network that
absolutely.
actually allow you to see what's going on in your space when you can't be there. Can you just talk a little bit about maybe
Absolutely, I
what's a
can.
simple solution for somebody that's
So
interested?
cameras, door access controls, and offsite alarm monitoring are crazy available. There are numerous ways to get it. I mean, if you're looking for like just the basic, you don't want a lot of extras. There's a couple of companies like I'm gonna put it in here. Arlo makes one. Now, this being said, some of these cheaper ones are, I won't call them cheaper, some of these less expensive options, you lose features and you inherit a certain amount of subscription-based nonsense. But they do make cameras like the Arlo that are battery powered. You can even buy Arlo through your local cell phone vendor, and they'll go connect up to your 4G or 5G, and they'll connect to the cloud. Now, the downside is you got to pay for a cloud account, and you got to get up on a ladder and swap the battery every 5 days and things like that. But there are simple, I just want a camera. I want a simple place to get to it. I don't want to run wires. Arlo is who I would push you towards for that. What we normally suggest for most brick and mortar places is some sort of holistic system that does everything. The one that we like the best, the company that we recommend the most, is a vendor of hardware and software called Ubiquity, and they specifically make the Unify family of products. I even have there is the key fob to my front door that is Unify that lets me into the front door of our office. They sell wired and wireless cameras with an NVR that will let you store your data locally to your network while also being able to pull it up on your mobile devices. You can also view it on screens and things in your office while you're in there. Like I keep let's see, I don't know if I can share this out. Like I keep, let me bring this up here. Because it's literally my screen goes all the way up. It's about 4.5 feet tall here. Um, that is a 360 camera watching my front door here at our office, so I can see when someone approaches our door at any time. And there comes Soren, my warehouse manager, with her dog Percy. Um, so it's I specifically like these because it gets you all of your systems all into one. So if you need door access controls, if you need, they're adding alarm system functionality to it. Everything is controlled both locally and remotely. You get alerts and geofencing, which means that you can have it determine when you leave or enter the office to change how alerts function. Um, thank you, Dee. Dee's wonderful. She works for Oregon Children's Theater. She runs Oregon Children's Theater, which is a nonprofit that all of you should check them out, and help with their next round of fundraising. Dee's wonderful, and Oregon Children's Theater is amazing. Um, so yes, we're saying cameras are going to be your best bet. If you don't want to go the full Magilla when it comes to putting in alarms like that, cameras with someone that can view them is your best bet. You want to cover ingress and egress of your facility and anywhere that you contain valuables. Your recording should also be at a minimum 7 days. Going more than 2 or 3 weeks is usually overboard because 9 times out of 10, if something bad has happened at your business, you're already on the phone with the insurance company the next day. Case in point, our facility had a couple of strung out guys stole a car and drove it through my loading dock door, blew it up off its hinges, stole about $70,000 worth of material. So we were on site within 20 minutes. Had the insurance company on site about 10 minutes after that. So you don't have to go crazy and overboard with how long you store information. I would say 7 days is about where you want to be at. Helps you notice trends, things like that. Notice if people are casing your facility more often. For an alarm, company we push people to is alarm.com. It is affordable. You are going to have to pay Portland's alarm cost. There's no way around that. It's like $100 a year. It's ridiculous. But unless you pay that cost, police will not respond to your alarm. And don't rely on any company to pay that fee for you. Contact the city, pay the fee yourself. Though we've had people learn that the hard way. Make sure it is paid, make sure it has stayed paid. Otherwise, your call will go out to the radio and be listed as non-emergency. And if someone responds, great. If not, which is probably what's going to happen, at least it's there when you file your report. But they'll have glass break sensors, audio sensors, sirens, keypads, the works. They sell things for mild to cheap subscription cost, and will get your 911 call rolling for you. They'll also alert you when something happens. We use that here. We actually really like it. We're migrating to Unify as their alarm stuff comes on board more and more. Um, but yeah, cameras, if you can get them, hardwire your cameras if you have the budget to do so. Specifically, I mean that because so if you are having problems, wireless is everywhere. Every building's got their own. A wired connection is going to be more stable. It's going to allow you to have higher throughput with better quality cameras. It also means that you can really control a lot of your system on its own. It can integrate directly in with your existing infrastructure. Most of these cameras work off a technology that's called PoE, or Power over Ethernet, meaning you have a certain type of network switch or appliance that connects up that you would normally just plug data stuff into. PoE switches, you have one cable runs from the switch to the camera, provides it with data and power. So that way, if you have a backup, a UPS, an uninterruptible power supply, or a backup battery in your facility, which you should have, even if power goes out, your security cameras will keep functioning for as long as that battery lasts, which is always a positive.
That's very helpful. Thank you. Something to think about if folks don't already have something integrated at their space. I think there's a lot of options available out there. And we've just got a couple of minutes left. So before we say goodbye, if you are feeling a little overwhelmed by any of this, David, you want to talk about some of the services that your company provides that might be helpful for folks if they're looking to get more help with stuff like this?
I will talk about my team all day long. Yeah, so our office is out here in Park Rose. If you have questions, one, you took the time to come here and listen to me pontificate about these things that I love. If you want to call because you got a couple of questions, just call. I'm not going to charge you to call. If you want to ask some clarifying questions about what we did, that's great. If you want someone to help you with all these types of projects, absolutely we can help you. We are a managed service provider, so we can handle everything from the, hey, I just need to bring you in for an hour to fix this problem on our website that we just can't seem to work. Yeah, we can do that. If you want to replace your entire IT department with our support staff and we will handle everything for you, we can also do that. Everything in between. We stream digital events. We have our own entire cinema grade stream system for events when people want to record or host an event. We totally do that. We've got microphones. We've got all of it. If it has a power cable, we own at least one. Hell, we're helping put on the Historic Park Rose movie nights with the, oh my God, what's the name of the coffee shop, Olivia? Plug that coffee shop.
Park Rose Coffee Shop and
Yes.
is using their back patio space to host some community movie nights, and we're providing all the equipment to stream the movies.
We have all that stuff. So if you've got something or you have a question about something like that, please call. I'm always happy to chit chat about technology in general. And 9 times out of 10, if there is something that you need help with, we can help. Or I've been in business long enough. I've got a pretty wide ranging network of people that can do the few things that I can't do or that members of my staff can't do. We're pretty much here all the time. You want to call, you can just ask for me. We pretty much pride ourselves on no hold music if necessary. I think on average, our worst hold time in the last 5 years was 14 seconds. So if you need something, give us a shout, shoot me an email. Or like I said, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, look us up online. Give me a heads up here 20 minutes out. Come hang out. You can take a gander around our office. It's filled with arcade games and snacks and loud people. Yeah, if you thought I was loud and talk fast, wait till you meet my staff. Uh, so yeah, we're happy to help with any sort of thing. It's no project's too small. And honestly, if something is very, very small, I'll be honest, I not to put myself out of a job, I would rather explain it to you and make you feel empowered to do it on your own than than take the time to send you a 1 hour invoice. So if you've got questions about some of this stuff, I'm happy to answer those questions. And if you want an IT team, I'm more than happy to be that IT team.
Thanks so much, David and Olivia, for being here. Thanks everybody that came out to get more information on technology. I'll send some information via email probably tomorrow, along with a recording of today's session, so you can share with your networks. So I think we're gonna say goodbye for today, but everyone have a great day, and we'll see you soon.
All right, everyone. Thank you.